63 differences in that hospital than in the average hospital. Let me just run over some of them. When you go into the hospital, look to your left, and there's a labyrinth there. You remember labyrinths have been around for thousands of years. And we have a labyrinth there that people can use as a place for meditation. And walking in from the outside to the inside is the length of a football field. It's 100 yards, even though it looks much smaller. But you can go into the center and meditate and walk back out. And when you go into the front door points directly to the Mauna Kea Mountains. And we've done that because the Hawaiians worship the mountains and the gods of the mountains. And so we've oriented the hospital to the mountains. In the rear of the hospital, the chapel, we've built the chapel outside of the hospital, or out in the tunnel, or out in a walkway, because most hospitals have, the chapels are buried on the inside, and they have some lights in there to make it look like it's outside, but this is outside. And that points directly to Mauna Kea, the world's biggest mountain. So this orientation is awfully important. And then we have the glass walls, so as not to separate the people from the aina, from the land, which is very important to Hawaiians. Then we have skylights there in the lobby. You'll see a skylight, and there are skylights all through the hospital. And the skylights are there because the skylights give us the opportunity to be synchronized with the sun. And according to chronobiology, one needs to be synchronized. Your body needs to be synchronized with circadian rhythms. And you can't do it with a clock, but you need the sunlight. Our eyes have a special receptor for sunlight. And we have windows in surgery because we want the doctors to remain synchronized to the sun. And the doctors that come and see the hospital say, this is great to have windows in surgery. And yet most surgeries today are closed. And that's terrible for the surgeons and the nurses and the patient to be in a little room with bad light because they use the wrong kind of fluorescent ballast. We use all the high-frequency ballasts, electronic ballasts, so the fluorescent lights are running at 30,000 cycles instead of 120 cycles, so they don't blink, or don't have that stutter in them. And so we have that. And then the hallway that you go down, you'll notice is about 12 feet wide instead of 8 feet wide like most hospitals. Because if you get too narrow a hallway, your peripheral vision sees these walls, and it triggers a fight or flight phenomena, which starts the adrenaline flowing in your body. And you get that in most hospitals. When you go in there, you get that negative charge. And when you go down the hallway, you don't smell a hospital. Most hospitals have that bad odor to them of cleansing fluids, because every one of our patient rooms has a door to the outside or a door to the inside courtyard. And most of those rooms are open during the day, if it's a fairly decent day. And so you get fresh mountain air in there instead of the sick hospital air. Most hospitals' air is so bad, and yet they circulate it over and over again. Whereas at night, we have to close those doors. But when we do, the air is circulated through HEPA filters, which take every particulate out of the air so that we get clean air. Even at night, the air is very clean, and you don't smell that hospital smell, which is very important. And then we have music in the hallways. You can listen to the music. And the music has no tunes in it that you'll recognize, because there might be a tune that brings back a bad memory to somebody. And we don't want to do that, so we've had the music has all been made for our hospital by a woman who plays an amplified harp and a man who has a woodwind synthesizer. And they make beautiful music, but you won't hear any tunes in it. And then when you go down the hallway, you'll note that you can't see anybody's faces in their beds, which is part of the feng shui rules. And yet the people in the bed can see their door, but you can't see their faces. And I go through hospitals today, and I can see faces when I go down the hall, which means they can see the hallway, which is a terribly disturbing, sickening procedure. And I think that that's, there are hundreds of things like that. There are 63 things that are specifically different in our hospital. I have medallions for Medtronic, and I now have medallions for people in the hospital. We're going to start giving them out to the earliest employees, because that has worked so well at Medtronic. The medallion is so important to people. When I give it out, there's something like 250 people in the auditorium, and some of them, by the time we finish going over the meaning of the mission, have tears in their eyes. And they don't go through the mission until they've been there 6 months, so they know it's real. And they feel very motivated by it and very moved. So some of them are crying when they come get their medallion. And it's something they don't forget. I just recently had lunch with a lady who's been there 40 years, and she's going to work another year. But we have lots of people that have been there 30 years and 35 years. And people don't stay with a company if they aren't very happy with what they're doing. But when you can feel so satisfied with helping people with your daily work, and we have everyone, the janitors, the secretaries, telephone operators, everyone takes pride in what their part is of helping patients. So those medallions really help people relate to something that's important to them. So I hope it'll have the same relationship at the hospital, that it'll be a special for them, and they'll honor it. I know some of the nurses are very positive about them coming out with a medallion. And we've got some beautiful medallions now. They're just gorgeous. So we thank you very much, and mahalo anui loa.